too in spirit. Protect my energy so I won't let you near it. Whole tribe going up, breaking through the ceiling. And when they look at us, they can see the healing. Breaking generational curses. Claim abundance cause I'm deserving. All my haters is getting nervous. We bout to blow.
Hope everyone is doing well today, and welcome to the RAD podcast, where we are absolutely racism is denied. I am part of a dynamic team. My name is Larry Jefferson, and I'll let my co-host introduce himself.
Dantrayl Smith from the great city of Memphis. Larry, man, look like you got some new glasses, bro.
I did get some new glasses, man. I went to see the eye doctor, and he said, "Have you been staring in front of a computer screen?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "We'll have to put you in some bifocals." I said, "Oh hell no, you not." I said, "Give me a couple more years," and so he put me in some new glasses, man. So yeah, I got these, some black ones, but it's a little different.
Yeah, it look clean though, man.
Appreciate it. But excited to restart this our podcast. As you can see, we had a little name change for those who didn't get to tune in last week, but we're excited about the direction that we're going, excited about the guests that we have today and moving forward. So tune in. I hope you learn something. That is our goal every time. So without further ado, you want to take over from Dantrayl?
Yeah, so today's dialogue was actually going to be between some of the police officers within the local community, along with some strategists / expert / my dude, Jonathan Morrison, to break that wall down. But unfortunately, the police officers that we had committed to coming on today actually are not going to be able to make it due to some unforeseen things in their work environment. So we're going to continue to push forward and continue to have the conversation. Like I said, we do have an expert here who is on the grounds within the Fort Worth community and outside of Tarrant County, to be honest with you, brothers everywhere. But they're doing, literally everywhere. But he's doing some phenomenal things. Pick his brain and talk a little bit about, give a little historical perspective and some other avenues. And so before we dive into the questions, allow our special guest to introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Morrison. I'm a community advocate and hip hop artist. I go by the stage name of Money Baby, and that simply is a euphemism for change. And a lot of times, if you listen to everyone speak in every conversation, it always ends in talk about money. And so that's just a way for me to insert myself into every conversation in the world. I am Money Baby. I'm an advocate for change. And, in some circles, people don't want you to use your creative name, or they want you to use your government name, and they want you to stay in certain lanes. But I try to always express the fact that I am a hip hop artist, even though I'm not Drake and everybody knows my songs, because I think it has a lot to do with my creative approach to everything that I do, as far as you mentioned, being on the ground, grassroots marketing tactics. I listened to the song and your intro. I never heard that song before. It was a great song. It gave me a great energy coming to the podcast. So just really getting people to understand that I am a creator. I take nothing and I make it into something. And that led to me coming home after college and really just getting involved in the community. Before I left, my mother was in some legal troubles, and being an African-American male in college, I got into some legal troubles. And just understanding that 15 seconds or 15 minutes could lead to a person in this country having interaction with law enforcement. And that interaction can change your whole life. And now, in this past decade, we've seen it. We've seen people die. We've seen people paralyzed. We've seen people traumatized from interaction with law enforcement. and it has become one of the major topics in our society. Do they have too much power? Do they get enough training? And so these are questions that I now actively engage in and work with community leaders, community representatives, and law enforcement every day to make sure that we can enhance the relationship between the community and police, and make sure that community policing is at the forefront of policing in America.
Man, yeah, and we about to dive into all of that. And I'm excited about this episode, man, talking to you. But before we begin and into that particular aspect of police brutality and kind of like the change, can you give a little more historical perspective, Brother Morrison, and talk about the effects of police brutality mentally, physically, on Black, brown communities?
Definitely, because I think a lot of times when we hear the term police brutality, we only think of the physical oppression or the physical abuse that can happen to someone when they come into a encounter with law enforcement. But a lot of times, if you go back and you look from the origin of policing in America, that's where it started with them, the police physically when it recaptured slaves, right? And now it's almost like there is this mental form of oppression. Like me, I'm a God-fearing citizen, but when I see a police car in traffic, there's a feeling that I get. It's almost like I gotta watch them until they can't see me anymore. And I think that's just, that's not from like any repeated criminal activity. That's from being Black in America and just knowing that, even today people can still get pulled over while being Black in certain areas. And depending on who you are and whose you are, that can end differently. I was always taught to like handle the police in a stern manner, like, be respectful to them, but kind of whatever energy they give it to you, give back to them. But in today's time, I wouldn't suggest that for any young African-American male. And just that there is a perception that all police can potentially hurt you. And, the good ones and the bad ones, because you never know where the situation is going to turn. And so I think that's why just having open dialogue with police in general as normal citizens, not necessarily about police brutality or about stop and frisk or any of these things, but just open, normal conversation. Speaking to a police officer is the most effective way to help a person improve their singular perspective. Like you have to have access to a police officer without the potential of an encounter, if that makes sense, to be able to openly dialogue with the police and then really start getting to be able to build your personal opinion of police. If that makes sense. But I think it has, basically, to put it in one sentence, I would say that the actions of police have put the perception of police in such a bad place, specifically in communities of color, that police don't get any respect.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that answer. And I'm thinking back to when I was growing up and my perception of them, and as I've aged and some of the interactions that I've had has really changed my perception of some of them. Again, you try not to put everybody in a box, but it's almost hard not to. But you spoke about being able to have those conversations without, being pulled over or being addressed behind something. And in the Tarrant County community, in the community that you're working in, what I guess projects or communications have been set up that's allowing this community police bridge to kind of gel or give those who are concerned about leaving the house or getting stopped and all that, what conversations are being set up to kind of address this issue?
So Fort Worth was actually part of a national initiative that was done by the Justice Department in another group of people. And so around the time where we got the first African American chief that started, and those conversations were rampant. They were looking for groups and looking for people who had specific type of interactions with police. And I think the sad part about that was there are probably people who needed to participate who still didn't get a chance. And but those conversations have been going on. I think the issue is, have we made the knowledge and awareness of them available for the masses in the community? Churches have been the one group that have really worked to bring police in, bring city leaders in with police to talk about policing issues, specific like when the Jacqueline Craig happened. And the neighborhood organizations like nonprofits, specifically your social service nonprofits, as well as like registered neighborhood organizations, which is another thing I think where specifically in community of color, we could work to have more registered groups with the city, because then there is a certain amount of staff support that those registered groups and communication that they receive, that just a regular citizen, who's by itself, you may want to go ask for that information, but your singular voice, it only, stirs a certain amount of priority.
Right.
But I would say that the churches and the neighborhood groups are the internal groups. A lot of times nonprofits are outside groups. So you have to dig a little deeper into the people that run the nonprofit to see, okay, are those people from this community, or are they just here to support this community? But I think that you're correct in that they have been having, and I would just say that the point is they haven't been having enough, right? Like, a lot of times those conversations are made one-offs, or there's a series of them, a one-off series, whereas those conversations should be sustained. So I know that the Fort Worth PD has gone back to more of a beat system. So each cop has a beat. They're in a section. It's broken down. And I think that a lot of times when you hear older police talk about that concept, they basically talk about that concept of holding court on their beat.
Oh, wow.
Like, I know the people on my beat. I know the elders. I know the young people. And so a lot of times we don't have that anymore. We didn't have that for a while. And so that's why I think that model is coming back, so that police can be held accountable for knowing the people in their area. Like, the world, I guess, got so big, Fort Worth with the 12th largest city in the nation, right? So you can't expect the police officer to know everyone in the neighborhood.
Right.
I think that is a part of the job, specifically when you talk about investigating crimes or investigating instances that have happened in the community. And, if you know the usual suspects, it's easier to kind of, what happened? Oh, that sounds like such. Let me go see what they, and at least without going into that, take everybody to jail. There was a time where, like I say, police monitored that area and people had trust in them, right? If it was a white police, a black police, it didn't really matter. Even though racism existed, police, I think, rose to a level in the community where they were a trusted confidant. Right. And I think just in our lifetime, specifically since President Barack Obama was elected, we've seen a backlash against men of color.
Yes.
Specifically. And I think just in those 12 years, plus, the perception of police has eroded.
Oh, yeah.
And unless you are a business owner, someone who has commercial property, you're really not trying to be involved with the police.
Nope.
Like, you don't want to be stop bomb. You don't want, and so this goes for people of all lifestyles, that there is a concern that this has police brutalities has risen to where it's happening to teachers and ordinary people. I've seen people have to change their profession because of an incident gone bad because of how the police handled it, right? Like, police rough people up, basically. Like, there's this saying of comply or die.
That's it.
Right? Like, no matter what you did, whether from a murderer to a common thief, they just want you to listen to their rules and obey them, or they will physically harm you. And so I think if we could continue podcasts like this and continue to give these groups in the community carte blanche to, like, it's okay to invite police to come talk. Like, matter of fact, this need to be part of their duty. There was one of the questions about the training. I think more so than the training, implementation of a new police hire should be, he should have to go just sit down and meet some people that he don't, like, and build a relationship with those people, so that if he is doing something that's culturally wrong or not necessarily a best practice in the area, somebody can pull him to the side and let him know.
Right.
And you not, as a police officer, you don't always have other police around you to inform you of that or to help you de-escalate a situation. So the community is really one of your best resources when you put that uniform on and you drive around that car, you go to this area by yourself. So I definitely think that the neighborhood groups and the churches and outside groups who want to come in to support neighborhoods and areas who need it have been the biggest rallying point for those type of conversations, have put the most energy behind making sure that different steps in the dialogue were presented to different ages. So making sure that young people had an opportunity to see police of color come in and talk to them about traffic stops. And
Right.
This is what good police look like, and this is what bad police look like. But at the same time, you just want to make it home to your parents so that your parents can deal with the situation. I think just engaging people our age in the conversation, whether it's planning for community spaces or planning for the changes that's happening in the area, engaging and having police in those conversations. It's not necessarily a police conversation, but when you have police present, now as a Black man, I could talk to the police about something that's, I don't want to talk to him about going to jail and all that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that to be our first encounter. Yeah. And it's like, and if when people have relationships, going back to we don't respect the police anymore. The police gets a lot more respect, and people understand what's going on when the police pull up and people welcome the police. Okay, the tension kind of die down. Yeah. But if the police pull up and everybody, it's like, so hey, that's just been my experience in the past 12 years, and here recently that, I greet the police because I ain't scared of them no more. Like at this point, it don't matter where y'all at, y'all where I'm at. Yep. As long as they ain't running up with their guns out and all that, I'm gonna be, treat them like some regular people. But there is that point where something could be actively happening. I don't know if you've ever been around a situation that's just active, and there is no friendliness with police. So you do have to be cognizant of that too. That when police are in their safety zone, like their guns is unstrapped, or those type of things are things that I think that as civilians we don't know about, we don't pay attention to, we don't know that.
You brought up a good point, man, when you were talking about I think just the mental aspect that goes through our mind that we're having to handle each situation, right? Like there's me and you've had this conversation multiple times where we talk about, it's beyond the physical, but it's even more mental agony when you're trying to handle and debrief a situation, because you have all these situations that you've seen on TV, right? Like what happened to all those individuals, those brothers and sisters, that you see on TV. And so your mind goes there. But then on the other side, you got like what you've been trained to do and how you should respond to certain situations. And then you got like the now, right? You got like that now, like, shit, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? What do I do? Where do I go here? Do I go right there, go left? And so like talk a little bit about the mental stages, man, that young men, even older men, that when they see the police, when they experience those situations, like talk a little bit about that, Jay.
Man, it's rough. I'll just give you a personal experience. This happened to me a few years ago. I was riding with a young lady, and we got pulled over in the central area of the city, like that's downtown, that area between downtown and 7th Street. And like the police Like I didn't know them once, so I knew it was a different area. Like I don't know these police. You know, you could tell that they were suspicious of black people in this area. You know what I'm saying? Just like, hey, we don't deal with a lot of black people in this area. And they kind of handled us like that. And the one thing that I remember is like they wanted to search our car and search us and all that. And so in my mind, I'm like, I mean, I know it's gonna be cool, but I'm paying attention. And this was my first time having to speak up, like to make sure that they stop what they was doing and brought a female officer on the scene. Like I made them, I basically risked my life, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want no man to search the young woman that I was with.
Right.
But they was about to do that. Like they didn't care. They, you know what I'm saying? It took me to be their advocate and be like, hold on, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was I guess that's just my little story of I didn't get belligerent, but I had to stand firm and you know what I'm saying? Like let them know, like, first of all, I'm here. I know I'm not going to jail because I ain't did nothing. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm about to talk to y'all like a man and let y'all know y'all not about to search her. Call a woman, you know what I'm saying? In their mind, they probably feeling like, oh, we're gonna rough. Oh, I can't wait to rough him up. Cause I was talking to them like that. Like, if it don't go my way, I'm gonna make sure it don't go y'all way. Like basically, y'all gonna have to do everything tonight. Chase me or you know what I'm saying, whatever y'all don't, you know. And so, you know what I'm saying? They kind of got the point, like, yeah, this person probably crazy. Let's go on and, you know, they called in a female officer. But I think in situations like that where, like you saying, like in that point, I can remember being nervous, like and thinking, like, man, like, do I want to say something? Do I want, you know what I'm saying? Do I just want to like let them do what they're gonna do and hurry up and get out of here? You know what I'm saying? And in the beginning, I was thinking like that, you know, like, okay, I don't want to go to jail, but when I seen them about to violate her rights, you know what I'm saying? And I'm supposed to be the man with her, like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't let that happen. Right. And I think it's those situations, like you saying, like, what are you really willing to put your life on the line for? Because people like, oh, you weren't putting your life on the line. Yeah, I was. It was 4 white people and 2 black people. And they had the control to do whatever they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? And me telling them stop was basically another crime. And I think that's what we don't understand is that, like, telling the police stop could be seen as a crime. And that's how they react and respond to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if the police hitting you and you like, stop, and you hit them back. Well, they heard you say stop. But once you hit them back and you done committed this crime, now we really finna rough you up.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that the point where sometimes I'm at a loss for I haven't heard the legal information to, even though people say, but I haven't seen the legal information that makes a person able to stand their ground against a wrongful law enforcement officer. Like I've heard that it exists,
right?
But I have not seen it in the statute, or I have not seen it practiced where a law officer was in his intention was right, but his action was wrong. And he the one died, and the people ain't go to jail.
But you know, you bring up a good point, man. And I never thought about this until you said it. But we're trained as young adults and as teenagers and kids and our adolescents on how to respond to certain situations, right? But we are never really taught. And it's crazy because we go to these institutions of higher education, but we're not really taught about what the law states. Right. When it comes, all they tell us is go read. That well, nah. Like if I'm paying these tuition dollars, these situations keep coming up. Like we need to be challenging the institutions to be like, okay, well, we need to talk about what these laws state, so that when I'm in these situations, I know what's right.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Usually, you know, that's what they teach you: comply or die.
Right.
Right. Like if you don't comply, you could die.
So what do you say to, because on my Facebook page, all I post is anti-racism, social media. Like I'm all about diversity. but I also, I mean, we said it earlier, you don't want to just preach to the crowd. Sometimes you have to make people a little bit uncomfortable. And a lot of the replies that I get is, well, had they done this or had they done that, and then, or, and so I show examples where they have done this or done that, and it still ended up, with, casket bound, so. What do you say to the individuals who are, I back, Blue Lives Matter, which I think was one of the stupidest things, because like, it's not even a race. Like, you're talking about a shirt. And so, you know, what do you say to that audience who fail to understand, there is a difference when certain people are pulled over, and complying sometimes will still, send you to the coffin.
Yeah, Philando Castile.
Yeah. He supplied everything, did everything right.
Man, it's a hard one, bro, because I was thinking about this earlier. And there's a difference between being a representative and being a leader. You can be appointed or elected to represent people, and you should have leadership qualities if you're doing that.
Right.
But what I realize is that doesn't make you a leader. You just been elected or appointed, and you have a set of something that you're supposed to do and things that you can't do. And basically, I feel like I've been going through this struggle of like being unfiltered or being filtered.
Right.
So that's kind of how I'm looking at your question of like, I like the Blue Lives people because I want to know that they exist. Like, I would rather them tell me that than be hidden in the shadows. Like, you get what I'm saying? So to a certain extent, that's why I'm saying it's a hard question, because it's like, do you want people to not tell you the truth and then act the way they're acting? And then it's like, or do you want people to tell you the truth so you can act accordingly? And so as people of color, this BIPOC community, I'm not against nobody, right? My practice of diversity is allowing you to have your hate and me stay away from you. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say that again. My practice of diversity is allowing you to have your hate and stay away from you. But at the same time, to be a leader, somebody has to go and have dialogue with them people, right? Absolutely. So somebody, the representatives and the leaders, have to go talk to these different groups that we don't all align with. And so I think that's where, to me, that's the only space we can meet in. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't try to go change people. I try to go identify the wins for us all. So as a Black person, I want to go into the room with white people who don't know about Black people to find out, what is it that y'all don't know?
Right.
Like, what is it? What's y'all hang up? Does that make sense? I want to sit down and talk to the Blue Lives people to get them. What is a blue life?
Right.
Okay, so do the Black people with blue shirts matter? So Black lives do matter. Oh, okay. You see what I'm saying? Like, I want to be the person to walk people through these conversations to get them to understand what they really saying. So, like how you said, blue lives matter. Well, blue lives do matter. But the question is, do the Blue Lives Matter people understand what the statement Black Lives Matter really means, going back to what you said and where it came from? You know what I'm saying? And so I think one of the things that I've recognized in the past 2 years of doing, mostly working with students doing DEI work, is that it's not necessarily our job to make white people feel comfortable or to bring them along. But if we want to do our job the best way, you have to create some space for white people to come in, the ones that are willing and trying, right? Like the ones who admit their ignorance, or the ones who are doing the work and studying but still don't, you know what I'm saying? You have to create a space for those white people to continue their work. So if we make such a Black space to where we say, well, no white people can't come in there, then guess what's gonna happen?
Pointless.
It's pointless, because them gonna be the same white people that say, see, I told you. You see what I'm saying? And they're gonna go into the white group and say, we having a white group, no blacks allowed. You see what I'm saying? So to me, that's, even though I'm not fully in alignment with it, it's like, as a learner and a leader, I have to try to understand Blue Lives Matter to get a win from it. Does that make sense? Or if I'm going on the field against them, I need to know how they playing offense, how they playing defense, who the star player is, who the coach is, what's his coach's strategy. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think it's not like I'm not against those people as a solutionary. I just want to hear from them in a safe, brave space. I don't want to go to the Blue Lives Matter conference because I know y'all gonna just be, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I don't mind sitting down. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind sitting down in a safe space and listening to the Blue Lives Matter representatives and leaders, and letting them tell me what they identify as reasons for having to have Blue Lives Matter.
Got it.
And then as a solutionary, my job is to present the facts that show why Blue Lives Matter is already a part of Black Lives Matter.
Love it.
Talk a little bit, man, about what is your greatest fear because I mean, I've known you for years, man. Just a lot of the work. I'm always inspired by all the things that you're doing. And it's funny because it seems like every event that I end up at, I always bump into you because you're always doing something there. But man, like, talk about like what has been, I guess, your greatest fear for the work that you're doing in regards to the DEI work, in relation to policing in the community.
My greatest fear is that little black kids won't want to be police. And that if it gets to such a point where the relations inside the police department, because most people don't ever look at it to see that it's racism inside the police department. Right? We'll say that again. Most people don't understand that there is problems to be dealt with inside of every police department in America. They got some racial issues. So as a community, if we are not the support system to the black police, then how can we expect the black police to be a support system to us? You get what I'm saying? It go both ways. So in Tarrant County, that's one of the things that we have done that I think why you have seen some alignment and seen some movement, because the black police have taken the forefront in calling out the racism. So when you got the black police calling out the Fort Worth PD, thus the city of Fort Worth, about racism, when you look down the line, this is 2021, that's why we have a chief diversity officer for the city of Fort Worth, because of people taking their fight, right? Suits and different things that people have put their livelihood and put their careers on the line to be whistleblowers and to stand up against racism in the job place. And most people don't realize that in Fort Worth, the black police have led that fight. So that's why a lot of the hand applause go to them, and it starts right there, like you said. But my fear is that through all of that, that this next generation, that we won't double the amount of black police, right? We won't double the amount of Hispanic police, so that when a police pull you over in a black neighborhood, or if you're a black person getting pulled over in white settlement, you want to smile and see Officer Johnson.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? At least so you, what's up, Officer Johnson? You know what I'm saying? At least you know Officer Johnson. You see him take care of your kids at school. You know he ain't about to come act the fool with you because you was speeding 5 miles over the limit. You know what I'm saying? Right. And Officer Johnson talk to you, might make a little joke and give you your ticket. As a black man, black woman, hey, you feel a part of America. You go pay that ticket, fight that ticket, whatever. But when you get pulled over, and man, it's an hour later because they done talk to you bad, or they done tried to take you to jail, and they done tried to search your car, and they done bought the dogs out. It's like, man, so that's my fear, is that we'll do all this work and the world could be better, but then we still feel somewhat oppressed because we don't have diversity in departments like that. We don't have kids that want to go be firefighters. We don't have people who say, you know what, I want to be the administrator for the city, so I might not need to be the police, but they're going to have to report to me. So if they ain't doing right, you see what I'm saying? So that's my fear, that we have all these conversations, we talk about the information, but do we actively involve young people in the solution so that they can see from a young age and identify their position in the, like, no, you know what? I want to be a police because I want to be good police. I want to be a great lawyer. I want to be a great doctor. I want to own the trash company. I don't want to be a trash man, but I want to own the trash company. I don't like sitting there. Like kids have to be exposed to that. And I was talking about this earlier with somebody, and that's what they were saying. You know, like around a certain age, that's when kids kind of start like, I'm gonna be this, right? And at a certain age, if they haven't been exposed to something, they'll follow somebody else that they know, but that might not be a good fit for them based off them just being exposed to it through somebody else. So you want to expose your children to something directly. And so I think that like self-policing, community policing is something that we're going to have to talk about in the community, more of like accountability, just responsibility, and people, so that when we get older, we won't see the police as a bad thing. Like, nah, you know what? You want to be the police in your neighborhood. Right. Versus saying, oh, we don't, you know, we don't need police or police ain't good. Like, no, I'm going to be good police. I think if that's my greatest fear, that when I'm a 60, 70-year-old man, if it ain't no black police, because I know I might be get caught speeding or, you know what I'm saying? If it that
I know I'm gonna get caught speeding.
You know, at least once. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. That's just my fear, that I get to that older age and I don't see young people who look like me in these positions that we have fought to have access to, that we have fought to be able to put ourselves in, right? So that's my biggest fear, is like we get to that the next 20 years and, you know, the high school improvement rate, having all those things, it's like, man, we still dealing with these problems. So that's why I do the work I do. And I'm hoping that, you know, well, one of the things I wanted to say, and I'm probably getting off, you mentioned that we were supposed to have some police on here. Right. I wanted you to know that the city of Forest Hill just swore in an African-American police chief. Forest Hill? Yeah. So that might be somebody that you know what I'm saying, y'all need to reach out to, bring him on the podcast. Great gentleman. I've known him for a while. And so I'm put it on his spirit to come back to this area as a police chief. So I'm thankful to that. I think that will do a lot to like bring another face to Tarrant County. A lot of times you just see the Fort Worth PD, but I think he will be visible, encouraging kids to do positive things in law enforcement. And I think it's going to be a good thing for that community. When you think about that whole TCC area, that Forest Hill, I think it is going to be something uplifting.
Yeah. So before Dantrayl closes us out with a quote, my last question is, you know, one of the things we really harp on doing is sending our guests out with something that they can think back on. And with that being said, what are some tips that you would give our listeners as like something to take back with them in the case that they may run into a police and, you know, it's an unruly situation? How do they handle that? And I know situations can be, you know, differ from one another, but what are your suggestions?
My first thing, any police that you meet that you like or don't like, get their badge number. If you like them, get their badge number. If you don't like how they treat it, get their badge number. That's the first thing.
And what does that do?
That's their like individual identifier. So when you get their badge number, that's how you can identify them with their police entity, and the police know who you talking about, know their history. You know what I'm saying? They know that person. And when you get their badge number, that's almost like a sign, like, okay, they may, you know what I'm saying? Just take a step back now, like, okay, they got my badge number. Or they could make them lean in, you know what I'm saying? But I would also say, just be humble. Like, if you have a question, ask the question. You know what I'm saying? Just be humble and don't fear talking to them. If they pulled you over, listen. Like, let them do all the talking. They pulled you over, listen to them. Now, if they don't tell you why they pulled you over, you can address that later. That's gonna be on the dash cam, but don't let them not telling you why they pulled you over get you out of your sorts. You know what I'm saying? How some people get frustrated, man, you may have been in a rush or whatever, to where because I think that's one of the things that I have learned is that's what bad police trying to do. They're trying to push your buttons to push your triggers, so now they can label you aggressive and handle you rough.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say be calm, listen, ask questions, get their badge number. And then one thing for just everybody in the area, know who your neighborhood police officer is. That's, you know what I'm saying? Know who is the neighborhood officer for your area, know his name, know who your school resource officer is. Those could be two valuable resources to you when you're getting pulled over by another officer. Hey, do you know officer such and such? Just, you know what I'm saying? You know how sometimes it's like that's an icebreaker. Asking, do you know? Okay, well, that's my partner. You know what I'm saying? Like police, I do see them, they work off like knowing, okay, you know him, or you know what I'm saying? So knowing those two officers could be one, a great resource to your family in case you're in need. But like you saying, just having something, not saying name dropping is a good thing, but you want this police who don't know you to know that you know some police. You're not anti-police. He doesn't have to fear his life for traffic stopping you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you can let the police know that, it'll go a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of it is just fear for them, man. You know, a black man in there, they scared, you know. Black women with a whole lot of kids, they scared, you know. Yeah. And that's just that's that implicit bias that we have to deal with. You know, when you talked about what people see on TV, this is what they're seeing in the movies. So a lot of people feel like that's what they're going to have to deal with in the hood. But I say this, most black men in America are more conservative than white men. Like, we don't want no problems with nobody because we know where problems leading. We know we a walking problem. Most black men are a walking problem. Like, if we chilling and you get the problems going, it's a lot of problems. So we don't financially, I'm good. We don't want to spend no money. You know what I'm saying? Most black men are conservative. So I just, like, we trying to stay alive and be here for our kids, and
that's it.
And have, our fun. That's why we love the barbecue, because y'all out there, we in here. You know what I'm saying? We can do what we want to do. Everybody go home. We safe.
Right.
But yeah, I think engaging with police, definitely just be humble, show respect, and ask questions. Listen and ask questions, and just make them feel safe. Because at the end of the day, that's why a lot of these encounters go the way that they are, because these white people scared of us, man. Let's just keep it. We not filtering it. They scared, man. The ones who ain't scared, not police. They out there really trying to hurt something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the ones who ain't scared.
Yep.
They don't gotta be police to get no power.
Yeah, man. Thought it was real, brother.
All right, so appreciate that. Dantrayl, what you got for us today?
All right, man. A quote I got comes from the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., man. And he states, "Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Yes, sir.
That's a great quote, man.
Yeah.
That's a great quote. Mr. Morrison, man, we can't thank you enough. She was not only just being at our event, supporting us at some of the things that we do, but being an advocate in the community where we work at. Keep up the good work, man. We greatly appreciate it. Glad you were able to come on. We may have to bring you back.
Man, I loved it, man. I loved it. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna make sure that we try to continue to spread awareness about this podcast. And like I say, let's do it, man. I love this vibe. I hope people get to see it today or get to catch it and understand that, I ain't gonna say racism is the worst thing in the world, but it's one of the solvable things, right? And we can actually do something about racism. And so that's why it's one of the things that I've chosen to be an advocate against, and why I actively work, because I feel like I can be effective. But thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. And I look forward to catching. I'm gonna have to go send me the link so I can go back and catch the other episodes.
Yeah, we'll send you the link, but we also post all of it on YouTube. So
okay, I go. Y'all have a YouTube?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's just put in the chat right now, so it'll be available for individuals to check it out. It's the little QR code.
Okay. Yeah, and Jay Money, man, you can actually send that out, man, to all your folks, man. I know you running a lot of circles, man. Send it out
Right.
so they can watch it too, man, and check you out as well, brother. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, bro, I appreciate you, man.
Hey, I'm sure I'll be seeing you in the next couple of days, man. And thank you, brother Jefferson. Nice to meet you. I look forward to doing some work with you in the trenches too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, for everybody else, we appreciate y'all being here. Tune in next week, next Monday, 5:00 p.m. Look forward to seeing you. Have a good Monday evening.
Y'all the ones. People see that and all they try to do is eat off you. You know what I'm saying? They try to feed off your shit and feed off your vibe and shit. But you already know the vibes, bro. You know how we coming, man. That's why we gonna stay thorough. We gonna stay solid. We gonna make sure we keep that protection for us.
We bout to blow.